Hello, everyone. We are going early with a monthly patron hangout. I was going to do an intro, but I just skipped it. We just went live. I am here with a lonely wolf, and it's been there were some people with what do you call it, conflicts. Couldn't come this month, so it might just be the two of us. A patron hangout is out there. Might be some people dropping in, but as long as you had one person, and that's all you need for a chat. Well, not even. I talked to myself for like 2 hours some Sundays. But anyway. How are you? How have you been? How is life?
Oh, pretty awesome. I've just been a bit I was a bit lazy with some things because I haven't uploaded or streamed for a long time.
Yeah. And so, if you were gonna upload or stream, what would you think about doing? Or do you ever think about doing stuff now?
Sometimes I don't think about it because usually with my friends on Discord, sometimes we just decide, you know what, let's just have a stream or whatever. And
Huh?
sometimes I have to take them down because the language gets a bit too excessive.
Yeah, a little too much. Don't think, yeah, things you don't want on record. So, and what do you guys when you're not talking about things well in profane ways? What do the chats tend to be about?
Well, okay, I talked a little bit about religion because most of the guy that I stream most often with, because we talk pretty much every day, is Chairview. He's sort of like a commentary channel. He just comments on the news or whatever. So he's not really. I don't think he has a particular political point of view. He's very much. He just takes the issues as they come.
Okay.
And so he's usually the main person I always feature on my channel, and I'm always on his channel.
Okay. Yeah, you're like stream buddies.
Yeah, we're very much stream buddies.
So, and are you guys on opposite sides of the religion conversation or on the same side?
Um, well, I'm kind of see. I'm actually somewhat religious. I'm probably more Catholic
Mm-hmm.
than anything else. Whereas I think he's been a bit. He was jaded by religion because Chevy, because he's been confined to a wheelchair for many years because he has muscular dystrophy,
Oh, right.
and
Okay.
he's recently had a leg amputation and everything like
Oh,
that. And
yikes.
he was sort of telling me about how there was a lot of scams in the church, like it was they were trying to heal him or whatever, doing like faith healing or whatever. And yes, even though I've got like some religious tendencies, there's no way that I'd ever believe in
Mm.
that kind of pseudoscience.
Yeah.
And so that kind of soured him a little bit.
Yes. Yeah. That bad experience. Well, I mean, it doesn't take much. Faith is a pretty delicate thing. And I guess with some people, they use life as a way to make their faith resilient to whatever kind of challenges they face. But if you're not that invested in it, if it's not something you really want to protect, it can be something that it's like trust, in a lot of ways. So some people give it out very easily, other people don't. So.
Yeah, because it's really more. I mean, I guess the Catholicism is really more of a it's the only sort of I guess Christian-based religion that has a sort of, I guess, there's a meditative aspect where some of the pagan ideas kind of came into it a little bit, that survived kind of a little bit, which I like. But I don't really necessarily go to church, etc.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of something at home.
Yeah, like a personal kind of faith.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
well, yeah.
it's unusual to actually hear someone, because sometimes some people see it as a contradiction of terms, thinking that like I lean more towards the left, so I'm libertarian in terms of the pro-choice argument, and for LGBT, etc., etc. So some people are surprised when I sort of say, "Oh yeah, I'm kind of Catholic," and I sort of say kindly, as in that I don't really take the Bible like
Mm-hmm.
as gospel as a gospel truth. It's more of a metaphorical.
Perspective. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, if were you raised like in the faith, or did you come to it later in life?
I was raised Church of England, and
Mm.
then I think the only reason I converted to Catholicism is because sometimes, like, I've gone to a service with a friend of mine, and I thought, oh, I kind of like these people better. And
So,
I was baptized, but like the family doesn't really care what I follow because it's just like I was raised in a secular household. It was just like getting baptized was just something you did. It was just a social thing, like an
hmm,
excuse for like a party.
yes, get some money in for the baby. Like have a baptism, have people throw gifts and $20 bills and cards or whatever at you.
Yeah,
Yeah, start you out.
yeah. And that's where I think that I guess when I'm not sure what I think Mythicist Milwaukee or
Mm,
Myth Informed or whatever. Like when I see that, like that's not a for the average person at home who might be on the fence about religion or whatever. It would be very hard to convince them because it seems very ungodlike to like some of those things that happen like at those events. Like I watched one of them. It was like Sargon of Akkad and Thomas something
Smith.
something, and then
Yeah.
yeah, Thomas Smith, and when he there was a certain tweet. I'm not going to repeat the tweet because it was very
Mm.
like I wouldn't even such and such. And when that got repeated, and then I heard the audience applause at that, and like that was kind of a moment where I thought, oh my god, this is a complete show of certain degeneracy of what it's sort of devolved down to. And then I'm thinking, well, this particular organization, you're not convinced it because the reaction from some people would be like, you people need Jesus.
Yeah.
That would be the reaction from the average person at home.
Yeah, I think that Mythicist Milwaukee was kind of a very niche group when they started out. I mean, it seems like it's definitely evolved into an increasingly political group because I think the debate moved on, but they initially wanted to take up this position not backed by historians. Some people with PhDs, but not people who have published in the field of like first century Christianity or archaeology or the study of like even penmanship and scripts in the different, that Jesus wasn't like just a man who became mythical in the tellings of his story, but that, hence mythicist Milwaukee, that he never existed. He was purely a myth. And I have problems with those people because, well, I don't have problems with the people. I have problems with what you're saying is all of the evidence we have for the existence of a man in history named Jesus is insufficient. But you can't then, after you eliminate the possibility that Jesus existed and all that, now you're also going to say that you can't tell me who invented him or what language they spoke or what era they lived in or anything like that. Hey, Laith, we are already live, by the way.
Oh no.
Yeah, so just a warning. And yeah, I'll just finish my thought and then I'll catch you up. And I always thought it was, aren't you supposed to be skeptics? I mean, if the whole point of your little exercise here is to destroy the evidence we do have, and you have no evidence other than, well, it could have been, and there were these other people who did something similar, why should anyone believe you? But I'm talking about the mythicist Jesus position, especially with like Mythicist Milwaukee, and then how they turned into kind of a shitlord con. That was
very smart.
Yes.
Very, 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 very lovely people. I have such appreciation for their work.
Yes, they're so.
I mean,
they're so better in their discourse.
It doesn't seem skeptical because this is I remember the remnants of that culture war when it used to be, let's say the SJWs, the anti-SJWs or whatever. It was like what it became was a cult of personality where there's certain figures that you couldn't really make fun of. Like even if you were joking, like a lot of people got in trouble with Sargon's fan, even if they joked about him or they made a meme about him. And yet these are the same people who say, oh, you people need to get like a sense of humor or something like that. And there's a certain cult of personality that's replaced that's almost religious.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think in terms of like the way that they kind of upheld Richard Dawkins as this great person, maybe not always understanding the science, just repeating it, mouthing the words, not really understanding the thought process. Like Armored Skeptic is a person I would think about who was really good at debunking creationism, but he was just reading out of a science textbooks. He wasn't actually writing it himself. And people who also really revered Christopher Hitchens, for his rhetorical skills, but they weren't willing to kind of do the analytical work that he did to formulate his arguments. They would just be assy, like, oh, you're dumb. And like, okay, like angry atheist phase. Okay. I don't know, Lath, you seems a bit skeptical?
No, it's not that I'm skeptical at all. I'm legit looking. Okay, so on an interesting note, talking about specifically like conspiracy theories and like Mythicist Walkie kind of benefit of the doubt, that kind of stuff. It could be, therefore, blah blah blah, whatever. Mm-hmm. This last week, I was actually looking up the researchers' concept of conspiracist ideation and stuff like that, and there was this really interesting acronym that's used in British, not deprogramming, but in British de-escalation or whatever it's called, but I can't for the life of me remember the fucking acronym. So I was looking for it. That was it, really. And it was just like all conspiracy theories, all believers in conspiracy theories, they think in these terms, and if you deconstruct it by saying okay, a thought and a belief or something like that is supposed to be one of them is supposed to be constructive, which is the last letter, so it should be a C. And it's supposed to be a belief is supposed to be constructive. So is your belief constructive to anything else that you come up with? And the other one, there's another one which is supposed to be isolative. So the belief that you have, does it make you isolated from other people?
Oh, all right. Okay. Right.
Yeah. So you get what I mean. I'm trying to find the bloody word. But
yeah, no, that's fair enough. Not on the same thing. Not on the counter programming, whatever you want to call it. But I know there's a book called "When Prophecies Fail," and it was a sociologist, I think it might have been, or maybe a psychologist, who looked at how people who are part of doomsday cults re-rationalize their beliefs after they are tested against the reality. They pick a date, they all get ready, the date comes, the date passes, and instead of going, wow, I have to really throw out my worldview and start again because clearly this was wrong, instead they just recalculate the numbers and they push it off into the future and it just starts again. So there is that kind of...
They could rationalize it easily. They could say the world actually did end, but we're actually living in a parallel universe in which the world didn't end.
I swear there is some, Latter-day Saint guys who are yeah, the world actually ended in 1994, but we're just in the tribulation period, Everybody who's supposed to go is already gone. We're just everybody that's left, so they're literally thinking we're in a fallen world, guys.
There was a bit of a line of that in when Kevin and I did our movie review for Jump, the parkour one. The pastor said that the tribulations, there will be wars and rumors of wars, started in the 1940s with the Second World War. I'm like, wait, so in 2010 you think that it's been going on for 70 years already? What? Yeah. I don't get this either. Yeah, not my cup of tea. For me, it's either we don't know or we have some evidence for X. But, you have to have the evidence at least to draw some basic conclusions. You can't in the absence of evidence.
Well, film reviews are always fun.
Well, it depends on what film you're reviewing.
Yeah, because I do that on Discord a lot with friends I have on Discord. We do the streaming thing where I show them a movie, and I decided to show them a movie because I think The Lucky Wanderer, because he was on a stream with me because I did an interview about his work he's doing in research or whatever, and there was this movie called Hysteria. I don't know whether anyone's seen it, but it's it was just basically the invention of the first sex toy and what necessitated that, and how originally before then it was the diagnosis of hysteria was made for women who weren't proper, and if they had any sort of behaviors, like if they were angry or whatever, or overly emotional, it was hysteria, and the way of treating that was the direct approach. It was the stimulation of the nervous system in a certain illicit way, and the way they talked about it was just really, really laughable. And then it showed the
it was a vibrator,
and then the and the poor guy who has to do that, like he was having like arthritis problems or whatever with his hands, and then his friend was an electrician, so he was playing around with it, and he thought, oh, like what if we could do this like with this electrical device here, and then history was written after that.
the first vibrators medically applied.
Yep.
It was the medical marijuana of its day. I have a license for that, officer. That's medically prescribed.
I'm just imagining like the old school Hoovers, like the old Victorian Hoovers. They used to be in a big old carriage that they would like be powered by a coal engine on the carriage, and
wow.
they just get hoses and they just shove it through the window and stuff, and the people then use the Hoover and stuff. It's like, yeah, let's get the street dildos out. Hey.
Oh my. Were you able to find the word anywhere, Leif?
No.
Okay, we'll just
No.
move on.
I found another constructive theory, and it was mainly from Hofstede, who was a magnificent racist and a bastard.
Oh, don't know him.
Yeah. Yet again, worker in conspiracy theory stuff, and the thing that I came across as being the thing is, you either had two sets of people who like studied conspiracy theories. The first one was like outsiders, so like a conspiracy theorist, so like an academic who's like, oh, let's look at this interesting person who's come up with this strange idea of how the world will end, or doomsday thing, but they're just all about like just figuring out, they're trying to figure out why someone is thinking this way, why is this cult doing something, you know? And it's all very kind of like just distant, you know, it's just very backward. So Hofstede was all about making a unified theory of why conspiracy theories exist. So like I didn't really agree with his stuff. Basically, he just said that there was paranoia, and he was specifically talking about like US history. So he said that the existence of like Watergate and stuff like that created the concept of conspiracy theory, even though that's like, you know, whatever.
Okay, I didn't know idea if it's true or not, but okay.
Well, the thing is, right, there was a conspiracy, like technically speaking, Jack the Ripper, the guy who was like going around killing people, you know, 100 odd years ago, was like, there were conspiracy theories about who that person was, you know, and how, oh, the crown is getting involved in order to stop people and stuff like that. And they're basically, it's like, that has a lot of the main, like, ideas of conspiracy thought. So it's like, hey, we've got the people up top deciding what is best without informing the masses, you know, and that's by the Queen interfering in the work because her son, who is a member of the royalty, who is the next in line for the throne and stuff like that, is a mass murderer and stuff like that, you know. And it's kind of like, you know, disrespect of authority, questioning basic lines of thought, that kind of stuff. And Hofstede was like, a lot of his stuff was, America is the center of the universe, and we came up with it in 1964. And before that point, there were conspiracies, but they're not true conspiracies. And
yeah, that's the idea of what labeling something gives it its existence. I mean, the same thing you could point to with the term serial killer. There were serial killers probably throughout human history. We just didn't have a category. We didn't, you know, because of technology, you could actually start to catch people who drifted and did violence in different locations under different jurisdictions, and now we understand the psychology of it more. So it's not just like a devil or something. We can understand its pathology. But yeah, I mean, I was thinking when you were saying about the Jack the Ripper, I'm like, there were plenty of Protestant conspiracies about the Catholic Church going back.
Yeah.
And then, of course, all the kinds of pogroms, the conspiracy theories about Jewish people in Western parts of Europe and other parts of Europe. So, yeah, to say that Americans, the term might have been coined to deal with a certain brand of, but human behavior, I don't even know if it's really paranoia so much as suspicion. I think there's a lot of, I mean, I don't, conspiracy theories breed on suspicion and also it seems like elite knowledge, having an understanding of something that other people lack. So, but I mean, that's just my, off the cuff.
No. I'm even more uneducated than you. You're the one with the doctorate.
Well, yeah, but only in if you over in political science, it doesn't qualify me for anything in psychology. Just musing on my own kind of reflections, but yeah.
Oh, I'm so annoyed. I can't find the bloody acronym. This bloody acronym.
You're gonna post it in the really group afterwards.
It was so smart because it was really smart. It was kind of like you basically like. If you got these crazy people who are just like, oh yeah, by the way, Jews run the world and stuff like that, you could just it's like, okay, look, you can do this if you don't want, do this if you want, don't do it if you don't want to, but like think this through, just use this system, and then just at the end of it, tell me what you think. And it's supposed to be it's like CBT, where you use your own methods of imagining shit to like deconstruct what you're thinking. And it's like, okay. That's good. That's a good idea. I can't remember it at all.
I need to talk to a lot of QAnon people about that.
Oh no! Don't do that.
Yeah.
I gave up.
We've abandoned the CBT, which I think it's like because it was so useful for me. Like when I've during times of depression or whatever, that was one of the first things I was ever trained on was the CBT. Like whenever because what was feeding into my depression sometimes was my perception. I just thought that people didn't like me, so when something happened I thought it was a deliberate shun or whatever, and then you just guide yourself through the thoughts thinking, okay, what other explanation is there, and is that thought rational?
And what do you mean abandoning it, did you say?
I just feel like we've the way that I'm seeing people behave. I don't know, in the present day. I'm just thinking that there needs to be more people who are trained in that. I think that I think a lot of people would act a lot differently if they were practicing it.
Yeah, I mean CBT is like work in healthcare. CBT is a good 2/3 of my fucking work nowadays, because it's basically teaching people how to establish and maintain perspective in their lives. And I can't knock that. No way can I knock that.
We should be teaching that in schools. Like that and like how to balance a checkbook and like how to file your taxes.
Balance a checkbook, how politics works. One thing that I would really love is if there was legitimately a news bulletin type thing where kids get told what's going on in their world kind of thing. Like, oh yeah, you're not going to vote on this, but there's a referendum in 3 weeks. Congrats. That kind of thing. Because a lot of people just didn't, you're basically saying by not informing children of things, you're basically saying, yes, you are going to be a part of it, but until you are a part of it, you have no right to that knowledge.
Yeah. Also some media criticism too, like perspective. Is objective journalism even possible? How do you triangulate different perspectives to see where they agree and what things might be spin? That too.
Increasingly, I find I agreed with that when I was a lot younger and dealing with schools and students and stuff like that. But increasingly it's become harder and harder for me to justify it because my end, Britain, stuff like that, the British school system is using a lot of its the governments are using a lot of its school systems in order to kind of horrendously pervert and dehumanize people a lot. And I kind of imagine about like, oh, how can, I can imagine that they would do the like studying let's study about Britain and the history of Britain and the fact that they don't, for instance, include that most or like loads of the statues are slave owners and members of the slave trade. The fact that they include that like opens the system up to being abused in a pretty bad way. So like including as much objective knowledge without introducing techniques that can be subject to like corruption is like a good way, although corruption isn't the right word, because you can go like people can do the thing in like fundamentalist churches. They kind of go, if you hear the word evolution, you just start screaming about blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Like that can very easily be injected into the schools if we open up the idea of like critical analysis and stuff like that at key stages.
I think, well, you're talking about like kids who are getting ready to vote. So I was thinking, like 16, 17, because if you're going to be weighing up things, you're going to rely on the media. So having a little savvy about if you read the Sun every day, you're going to get one perspective, but if you pick up the Guardian, you're going to get a different perspective. And what does it say about where people are coming from, and should you read around to get a lot of different perspectives and think about stuff rather than just accepting what the Daily Mail cover says or whatever.
Yeah, with that in mind, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I think and also I would be in favor of teaching them like I know they kind of do the scientific method. Well, at least I was taught a little bit, but I was taught about it more on like how to do it with nature and how to just, and not really think about like political studies or medical studies. When they say cholesterol is good for you, who funded the study? How many people were involved? Just some basic questions, not to necessarily tear down the information, but to consume it in a slightly more reasonable way, less black and white, less simplistic. Because media is all about simplicity, headlines, so that you get pulled into this story. And it's half of its advertising. Anyway. Oh, and I mentioned before we went on air, but I have to leave early today because I've got something at 7. So we've got like about 25 minutes.
Almost the same as well.
Okay. All right.
20 minutes.
It works out perfectly then. Yeah. So who wants to talk about what? What's on people's minds?
I am packing all my shit up.
Oh.
I'm moving house. It's horrendous.
I hate
moving in the time of coronavirus is a fucking mess. I'll tell you that. Like, in order to kind of make sure of everything, especially where I'm going, the person is immunocompromised, where I'm going to go live. The moving crew is pretty much going to be, I'm going to pack up all my stuff. It's mostly all packed up now. I'm going to leave the house. They're going to come in, pick up all the shit, pick all the stuff and take it. And I'm going to go and pick it all up again. So that way there's no thing. And it's simultaneously terrifying and kind of awesome, because I've done this move about 5 or 6 times now. And every time I've had to do like a good 10-mile walk carrying shit.
Yeah. And this time it's getting dropped off? Is that
This time I can afford to get a moving crew. So nice. I'm just doing it.
Yeah, yes.
It's the first time in years I can do that.
If it's mostly, if you've got a whole house, that's kind of one thing. If you've got mostly things that, can be lifted by 2 people reasonably, and it's going to take them a crew of 3 hours, and it's going to take you 12. Yes, just you've got the van. You guys, please lift heavy things and carry this stuff, because I have to deal with it. I have to unpack it then too. It's not just the moving; it's the packing and then the moving, and then usually the unpacking and then the cleaning, or sometimes the cleaning, the unpacking, and the cleaning. So
that's kind of like what I'm up to. Wolf, how do you feel about Tony Abbott coming over to fuck my country next?
Oh my god. Yeah, he was well, at least it's not Pauline Hanson.
Is that the best you can do?
It's like it could always be worse.
So what is he over in the UK doing?
He's Brexit secretary.
Oh, geez, that doesn't surprise me. I thought that Pauline Hanson would be on top of the Brexit. Well, she's actually she went to America to visit Trump, which is I wasn't surprised, but I mean, I couldn't, because when I look back, I think it was 1997. That's when she first came in the political scene, and I went back to watch a video. It was kind of a current affair interview with her and interviewing her views or whatever, and I showed it to friends of mine who were on Discord, and they were like, and they were really quite shocked at what she was actually saying, and at the time, and how sort of ignorant it came across as, and she's probably one of the furthest right that I can think of, but I think a lot of people don't really take her seriously because it's she's not exactly a very good speaker.
I've heard some of her talk about what was it, like the Malaysian camps and stuff like that have been pretty crazy. But I'm not honestly I've been sorting out the move, so I haven't had a chance to keep up with Australian affairs.
Yeah.
No, it's admittedly I spend more time. I pay more attention to the DNC and the RNC. I mean, I can't help myself because it's a little bit more entertaining. It's I don't really. I mean, I don't concentrate as much as I should on the Australian politics. But the one thing that's interesting, the one thing that people should know about in America is I don't know whether you've heard about it. It's a democracy sausage. It's like a tradition. It's,
yeah, you shared it in a happy hour or something with us. We looked it up on Wikipedia.
Yeah. It's sort of interesting because it's for those people, like the people in the audience or whatever. It's basically it's a tradition. Like every time, because we have to vote or else we get fined. And then plus that, they've also got like a barbecue outside. So it's not a hot dog stand per se. It's more of it's what they call a sausage sizzle. So it's a sausage that's cooked like very, very well until it's like burnt. Like one of, think of like one of Freddy Krueger's naughty pics that he'd send to his girlfriend. That's what the sausage is, burnt as. And then it's put on a piece of bread. Not on a hot dog bun, because that's like strictly that's unpatriotic. It has to be on a piece of bread, buttered, and then you can put the tomato sauce. And I get accused of being unpatriotic because I put a line of mustard. Like they say, putting mustard on no longer makes it a democracy sausage. It's unpatriotic. It's American, but I just think, it's all right. I want to enjoy it like that.
All right.
And then,
all right.
and then it's eaten like that. So usually at every election venue, they've got one of those barbecue stands where they sell it. And so most people think, okay, I'm going to vote and then I'm going to have my sausage.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, what if I think the Democrats, they need to do that, or whatever, or the Republicans, whichever party wants to get the most vote, they should have a stand outside of their thing. They can make a hot dog stand or whatever, or they can introduce America to the sausage sizzle.
Well, it is illegal, I think, in all states too. I know I had to follow Wisconsin election law. You cannot induce someone with any kind of monetary thing or value or voucher to vote. But what you can do is, if they go in, if someone is wearing an I voted sticker and you want to give them a discount or 50 cents off or give them something for free, as long as it's just the sticker, anyone who in theory comes up with a sticker, they don't have to vote to do it. They're just wearing the sticker. You can, but of course you get the stickers from the voting places is the whole logic of it. You could do that. You could have a discount on a democracy sausage.
Yeah, because it's usually, because what it is it's cost $2 for your little sausage on a piece of bread or whatever. But it's usually a fundraising for charities or whatever, for local charities. Mm-hmm. So they do that. It could be for the school or because usually schools are the popular venue, so it might be fundraising for their the parent teacher association or whatever. And so they sort of could do that, but it's just the smell alone, because it's probably only in your suburbs. So the smell, because people are going to follow their noses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. And you get the charcoal grill smoke going, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly how it works.
and then you get the sausages on there, and everyone's like, and
Yeah.
straight over.
I'm interested because I am a mechanical, horrible role-playing gamer at heart. I need to know if it's ketchup that makes a democracy sausage. Yeah. What about sandwich thing where it's a mixture of ketchup and mustard? What is that?
Well, that's what I do. I'd put one stripe. I have one stripe of ketchup and one stripe of mustard. But apparently, that stripe of mustard, like some people look down upon me, saying, you're not being patriotic enough to be Australian. It's usually either the barbecue sauce or it's the tomato, but it's never. It's like never the mustard. Well, they put it on the table, so.
Horseradish?
We have a lot of condiments in the world. The world is a world of varied place.
That's true.
Yeah. So what in fact happens if you included brie?
Oh, okay. That would that'd land you in a bit of trouble.
But you get thrown out. Take your brie and your sausage out, you heathen.
What about garlic sauce? I just want to know, is it democratic or not?
It doesn't seem. I mean, that seems like the limiting of our options kind of. It's the democracy sausage is no longer very democratic. It's more of an oligarchic sausage than.
Look, it's bread, sausage, and ketchup. That's it. Those are the three components. Yeah. That's it. That's all you get. That's democracy. Nothing else is democracy.
Does salsa count as a type of ketchup? Because it's made of tomatoes.
That's pushing. I guess if you were making them at home, then because they taste very good with the they wouldn't. I mean, the vegan sausage, that'd be one thing. I don't know whether they have an option like that, but I think I'd probably say the kangaroo sausage is probably the tastiest out of all of them.
There you go. Well, I don't get kangaroo sausage, but I bet my dad would love to try it. He's a hunter. He's tried various game meats. So, yeah. Wow, kangaroo sausage. No, just normal, just traditional German bratwurst sausage where I am at. And nobody will give you a stink eye for a line of a mustard here. They like their senf. But it's not a democracy sausage. It's a bratwurst, so... But back in Wisconsin, people would put relish, obviously, like on there, or more in the hot dogs, I think, than the brats. But the brats, you would get sauerkraut drizzled across the tops of them. So that's so, like, what is that? Vinegar, cabbage, sausage, ketchup, mustard, and bread.
Oh, okay, yeah. I had a friend of mine from North Dakota who said was talking about that exact same thing. Because we sometimes send each other stuff, so I send her a snack box with all the Australian stuff.
Fun.
That people try eating. It was very that they all worked out well, except for the Vegemite didn't go down well.
Probably not. That's a very divisive. People love it or hate it. So.
Yeah, it is a condiment that's meant to be spread very, very lightly.
Very, very thin. Laith, where you're moving, are you happy with your new digs? You have anything you're looking forward to when you get to your new place?
Honestly, not really. This is more of a move of necessity rather than it's just time that we move, lease has ended or anything like that. I like where I'm going. It seems to be a nice place. It's just part of life, know.
Do you think you'd ever get, if you were in the same place for 10 years or 15 years, you'd feel a little bit like, I haven't moved in a really long time, and I kind of miss that new neighborhood sensation and learning new places to go and establishing a new routine? Or do you think you'd be like, oh my, I'm so happy I'm not moving anymore?
My experience of moving has almost unilaterally been, my experience of moving has always just kind of been like, I've got to move. So when I moved from Iraq to England, it was legitimately because shit was getting too dangerous over there. And then when I moved again, it was because I was too far, because where I was going to school was too far away from where I was living, so I had to move.
Okay.
Yeah. And then every time it's just been that I've had to move. And as a result, over the last 6 years, I've moved 6 times. This will be the 7th. And like I just don't have that kind of thing. I doubt I'll be able to stay in the new place for more than about a year at most. And then I'll just move on to another place. Like that's just life. I have a bookcase right here, and that's the biggest thing I own.
And the books that go on it, obviously, but in terms of actual furniture. Yeah.
One day I'll think I will get a house, and if I do that, it would be kind of like a house that I'll probably wind up like keeping or renting out, and then just coming back to it or something. But honestly, I doubt I'm going to get that. I doubt it. It's just like part of life.
Yeah.
I mean, how about you? Have you thought about what's going on? I believe your grant or whatever for your study is ending soon. So like, are you going to be moving over, or are you going to be staying in Germany?
So I'm luckily full-time employed.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, I'm a German civil servant or something like that. I don't quite know. But it is the longest I've lived in a place since my teens, because I was kind of, for different reasons, I moved to college, and then every year, like, you'd have to move out of your dorms. So I'd have to go somewhere for the summer or find some temporary housing and move back into the dorms. Then moved to Madison, and then moved to Sun Prairie, and then like moved back to part of Madison, then I moved to the UK, and then I was a student. And so I think the longest, I lived in the same place for about 4 years, I guess, and I had the house and thought I had my life all figured out, and then nothing was figured out. So I had to move on. And now, so I and the other thing too, here in Germany, it's pretty common for people to just rent like their whole lives. Home ownership isn't a huge, it's something people try for, but it's not uncommon for people to just live in an apartment for decades on end. And so the woman that when I first moved to Germany, she rented me a room, and I stayed there for a year, and then I ended up getting this place, and that was 2012. And I've been here ever since, which I never intended. It just sort of happened. But she had lived in that apartment for almost 20 years while she saved up for a house. And then she finally like got the house she wanted to have, and now it's, she's moving, so she's got her own place. But her parents live in rented accommodation, and a lot of other people do here too. So it's kind of, it's a little slightly different approach. But I guess for me, moving was a constant part of my life. And because, I had to move except for when I went to school. And then, of course, I chose to go to the UK to get my various degrees, as it turned out. So, but I was thinking the other day, like the fact that the years have slid by. And normally I would have moved a couple times already. And I haven't yet. But I mean, I like my place. I don't want to go anywhere. So I'm also.
I can't imagine you relocating to the States again, because then that's like, okay, now you get to, because I don't know, when some people call you the wine aunt, and I always sort of say like, why would you call someone a wine aunt? Like, you're German, for God's sake. Like, you're at least a beer aunt.
Good point. Yeah. I imagine for some reason I imagine at some point going back to the States, because of my family are all there. Like both of my parents who are still living, none of my grandparents are still living, but I kind of figured there's going to be something that pulls me back, and maybe I'm wrong. But also, I guess the German system of retirement and healthcare here would be better. But my German, I don't know if I could at 80, like be communicating. If I start going a little bit mentally, I want to be someplace where I know people speak English. But then again, the American healthcare system is just terrifying. So, don't know. Haven't figured that part out yet. No. But
a friend of mine's mother had the best description of it, and it's kind of getting to the point where I'm not absolutely sure if it was a joke But you imagine this, it's like every time it's their birthday, every time it's like a special event, they say, once I'm starting to go, just put me into a wheelchair and shove me off the side of a boat. And I was kind of like, when I first heard it, I was like, oh yeah, that's a smart idea. Good work. That's pretty smart. And then she just kept saying it. I was just kind of like, are you serious? Because, like, okay.
Yeah, no, my dad's a bit fatalist, he talks about the Native American tradition of when people just, like, instead of, when you got old and you couldn't contribute to the tribe anymore, and it wasn't just that you were old and you were useless, you kind of lived your life. You'd kind of done it all.
Time to go.
Yeah, and, like wandering off into the woods in the middle of winter, probably with a bottle of something, and just let nature take its course. And I mean, in some ways, I know he's not planning it, but I think what he's doing is, he's in his 70s now. He's coming to grips with the inevitable, and I think a lot of people would prefer to go out on their own terms, and go out in a way that they could say goodbye and not kind of have everything, be robbed of things. So yeah, in that way.
Yeah, because that's like one of the early, like in the early stages of Alzheimer's when they go wandering, because that's usually like a telltale sign. And you wonder if that's like an instinctive, like biological thing, like that every other animal in the kingdom, it's like they feel that their time is up and they sort of like wander away from the
herd,
nest
the pack. Yeah. Penguins do that, right? Occasionally there's a penguin who'll just like start walking in a direction.
Yeah.
Just go and go and
I mean,
go.
penguins, they prostitute as well as.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, sorry.
every conversation, penguin prostitutes come up at some point. God.
Yeah, I think it's an exchange. They do it in exchange for pebbles to build their nest.
Yeah.
Oh, really? They do sexual favors for pebbles?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they usually look for the single males who've got like a stash of pebbles, but then it can go really yeah, I know.
Sorry.
It can go really bad. It can go awry, like really bloody and whatever. If the penguin who's out soliciting, like if she finds a male and with plenty of pebbles, but then she doesn't realize that there's a wife there as well, and
he's getting it on
like
the
if
side.
the wife comes out, not necessarily, like she might be sniffing around, not being aware that he's already taken, and then if if the wife comes out or whatever, then that could be really like a very dangerous scenario.
Jerry Springer, all of a sudden.
Yeah,
I had no idea there was like so much like soap opera drama, like in penguin love life.
In another thing that is a sad thing.
Oh, okay.
Apes, like specifically apes, so like gorillas, chimpanzees, those kind of things. There is a kind of like documented event of people just straight up killing and eating children.
Oh gosh! In their own,
and in their own group, in other groups, they've done it to humans, and it's kind of like people like. There's a bunch of different reasonings that can be made. The first thing would be like a power move kind of thing, to kind of like ensure that dominance is maintained or whatever. And then you could just go in another point of view of like just apply a humanistic description, which is they want to, they're smart enough to like solve puzzles and stuff like that. They're smart enough to know this thing has like an effect that I enjoy, so I'm going to just do it. And in
an equally morbid but slightly different category of mammals, I know that with I think it's lions, pretty sure, where it usually is like a pack of lionesses and then the males will come in and impregnate them and then kind of move off or whatever. But I know that I've seen this in documentaries, if a lioness has cubs and like two males that are trying to find a mate, hanging out together, or one, whatever, wants to get with her, they will kill her cubs. Because that will shortly after send her into heat. and then they'll have, sex with her and then get her pregnant and replace it. So nature, like anyone who says that God can be found by the wonders of nature hasn't spent enough time watching nature documentaries. There's some fucked up shit in nature. Absolutely messed up.
It's all very crazy. It's all very. I mean, the thing would be, it's all very varied.
Yes, that's the thing.
That's going to be kind of the thing. There's what was
everything in nature. There's everything in nature.
Almost entirely. I mean, even going into the basis of there's like a kind of paramecium that got infected with a virus or something like that billions of years ago. So now the only way that they can reproduce is by killing themselves. They overfill themselves and then they just explode like a virus propagates itself. It just overfills itself and it explodes.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like that is just one way that people can propagate across the world, and that's just making me sad.
Yeah, and but the swans salmon that swim upriver to the point where their last act, because they're so battered, is to fertilize the eggs, and just the way that instinct drives living beings to do the most irrational things, or just not even irrational things, just the variety of different care forms, whether it's the female or the male who takes care of things, or even with seahorses, which of the partners carries the egg, or is pregnant and stuff. Like you said, the only thing that's characterizes nature is its variety. It's completely unceasing, bizarre, mind-blowing variety.
Well, I think it's quarter to the hour, Kristen.
Yeah.
Because I think you got a gaming stream.
Yes, thank you for. I was just going to
do next.
This was a depressing but also very relaxing chat. I feel like
there's a catharsis to it. There's a catharsis to kind of saying, "Oh well, we're slowly choking ourselves to death with CO2 and methane and shit like that." Oh yeah, but penguins do sexual favors and fuck each other up because there's someone stepping out,
We're not the only species that's fucked up by a long shot. I guess that's also that bombshell. Thank you to my two friends for showing up today. I appreciate you guys coming by and spending some time with me. Goodbye from me. Until next time. And I'll be over on my gaming channel in about 15 minutes. So goodbye from me and goodbye from everyone. Say goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.
Oh, they both did the bit.